number 10. Bhagavat Dharmina Sadho Shradaya Yatata Sada Bhaktir Bhagavati Brahmanya Ananya Visha Ya Bhavat. Please repeat. Bhagavat Dharminaha. One who executes devotional service. Sadho. The devotee. Shraddhaya. With faith. Yatataha. Endeavoring. Sada. Always. Bhakti. Devotion. Bhagavati. Unto the personality of Godhead. Brahmani. The origin of impersonal Brahman. Ananya Vishaya. Firmly fixed without deviation. Abhavat. Became. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Pitu thus engaged completely in devotional service, executing the rules and regulations strictly according to principles 24 hours daily. Thus his love and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna developed and became unflinching and fixed purport. The word Bhagavat Dharminaha indicates that the religious process practiced by Maharaj Pitu was beyond all pretensions. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam 112, Dharma Projita Kaitavo Patra. Religious principles, which are simply pretentious, are actually nothing but cheating. Bhagavat Dharminaha is described by Viragavacharya as Nibritti Dharmena, which indicates that it cannot be contaminated by material aspiration. As described by Srila Rupa Goswami, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyanavritam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. When one who is not inspired by material activities and is not contaminated by the process of fruitive activity and empiric speculation fully engages in the favorable service of the Lord, his service is called Bhagavat Dharma, or pure devotional service. In this verse, the word Brahmani does not refer to the impersonal Brahman. Impersonal Brahman is a subordinate feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And since impersonal Brahman worshippers desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence, they cannot be considered followers of Bhagavat Dharma. After being baffled in his material enjoyment, the impersonalist may desire to merge into the existence of the Lord, but a pure devotee of the Lord has no such desire. Therefore, a pure devotee is really Bhagavat Dharmi. It is clear from this verse that Maharaj Pitu was never a worshipper of the impersonal Brahman, but was at all times a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavati Brahmani refers to one who is engaged in devotional service to the Personality of Godhead. The devotee's knowledge of the impersonal Brahman is automatically revealed, and he is not interested in merging into the impersonal Brahman. Maharaj Pitu's activities in devotional service enabled him to become fixed and steady in the discharge of devotional activities without having to take recourse to karma, jnana, or yoga. Bhagavat Dharmena Sadho Shradaya Yatata Sada Bhaktir Bhagavati Brahmani Ananya Vishaya Bhavat. Maharaj Pitu thus engaged completely in devotional service, executing the rules and regulations strictly according to principles 24 hours daily. Thus his love and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna developed and became unflinching and fixed. Mukram karoti bhachalam mangamanayate garim kripadanam mande Shri Guru Manganataram. So, Srila Prabhupada used the phrase open secret for the process of devotional service. Open secret means that there is nothing esoteric in the teachings of Krishna consciousness. There is not, as in some mystical processes, some front that is presented for common people, which is misleading, and then behind for those who are, you see, within the inner group, then there is so much detailed esoteric knowledge. It is not like that. The process is open, accessible to everyone, just like Srila Prabhupada's books. Everything is there for the simple, not even devotees, the common people, and then the neophyte devotees, and then the advanced devotees. In Srila Prabhupada's books, everything according to one's level is presented. And the members, book distributors of this International Society for Krishna Consciousness are distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. The Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these books are distributed. So anyone can read them. It is open. Yet, at the same time, it is a secret. What is the secret? So actually, here is the secret in this verse. That Maharaj Prithu, he was very careful to execute the rules and regulations of devotional service strictly, 24 hours daily. Thus his love and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna developed and became unflinching and fixed. So this is the secret of actually entering into an intimate personal relationship with Krishna. The books of Srila Prabhupada, practically on every page, they're telling us that this is what we must do. But until you do it, we cannot actually know what it means to enter into an intimate personal relationship with Krishna. So many people, they theoretically appreciate the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, the philosophy of personalism, and scholars, they will be very happy to match up what they read in Prabhupada's books with the statements of saints and sages and other traditions, because this is a Christian culture, so they will look into the writings of Christian theologians and saintly persons from the past, and they will say, yes, it is the same. And they will appreciate that. They will, on this point, and this was made by Saint so-and-so back in 1623. So, because at present, I'm starting some research on another book, so I'm also reading some of these old writings of saints, etc. And it's a fact. One can see on many, many points there is a common ground. But this is theoretical. The theoretical construct can be similar, but what remains to be understood is the actual rasa, or taste. On the material platform, and this is just the point Srila Prabhupada is making. You see, anyavilashita shunyam jnana kamadi anavritam. This is the material platform that must be overcome. So, Prabhupada also mentions that pure devotional service is nivritti dharma. And we were saying in the last days, there's pravritti dharma. And this is the platform on which the materialistic people stand. So, the Bhagavatam itself explains that the nectar of this narration, every verse, every word in the Srimad Bhagavatam is an ocean of nectar. But in order to enter into that, one has to be Nivriti Trishna, one has to have overcome all material desires. So until one has done that, then one can see on the theoretical platform, as Prabhupada is saying, on the, what did he say, just to get the words correct. Fruitive activity and empiric speculation, yes. So from that point of view, someone who is situated in fruitive activity, karma, and empiric speculation, jnana, he may be able to find so many similarities, surface similarities, between Krishna consciousness and some other process that he himself is familiar with. I mean, that's a fact, especially in the Vedic culture. There are karmis, there are jnanis, and there are devotees, and they're all accepting the Vedic scriptures. And so, of course, they're accepting different, perhaps, different bodies of Vedic scriptures, different lines of teaching. But there is a basic similarity. And ultimately, included in the realm of Vedic knowledge are all bona fide religious traditions. So there is a similarity there. But it is a surface similarity. The real question in terms of understanding the Srimad Bhagavatam is whether we have overcome our material inclinations. Pravritti means our material inclinations. Whether we have overcome that and actually entered into the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectarian ocean of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Until one has done that, then one will continue to be baffled. Moga Sha, Moga Karmana, Moga Jnana Vicheta Sha. This is Krishna's own statement in the Bhagavad Gita, that those who are attracted by materialistic views, then actually their activities and their knowledge will continue to be baffled. So why is one attracted to materialistic views? That is just the point, attraction. What is the center of our attraction? So this is, again, coming to the point of open secret. This is the secret. You see, what is the center of our attraction? This is a point that is very, very difficult for karmis and jnanis to understand. So Maharaj Prithu, what he is doing here is showing the way to develop attraction, make the center of one's attraction in life Krishna. Ananya Vishaya, to be firmly fixed without deviation in Bhagavat Dharma, in pure devotional service. How can one become firmly fixed under all circumstances? It is only when one has this powerful attraction to Krishna. It is a question of love in the end. Direct, personal love for this specific Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as we see him depicted here in all these nice paintings. And therefore Srila Prabhupada is stressing in this purport and dedicating practically 2 paragraphs out of a purport of 3 paragraphs to point out the difference between those who worship impersonal Brahman and those who worship the Supreme Personality of God. This impersonal Brahman conception, it is a divine conception, but it is a conception that allows us to impose our own speculations upon it. So, you see, those who are fond of speculating on the spiritual path, depicting the object of religious worship in this way or that way, or this or that. And there are many paths. There were many teachers, and many this, and many that. Actually, they're all impersonalists. Even they appear to be personalists. They will speak of some personal object. But unless they have this nija bhakti, which is a term we find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, specific devotional service to Krishna, then they do not know actually what is personal spiritual life. They cannot know it. Now, people who are fond of all this theoretical, theological, theosophical approach, they'll have a hard time with that statement. They will think it is sectarianism. How can you say that only by worshipping Krishna alone can we actually understand the full meaning of personal spiritual life? Yes, and the answer is that only Krishna, only the original Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself is engaging all of the senses of His devotees in loving devotional service. You see? So, where only the mind is engaged, or only a few stereotyped sensory activities are engaged, then the balance, what is left over, where will that be engaged? This is the question. And the tendency, which is known in this material world as the tendency to sin, the tendency to engage in all those things that are forbidden in the scriptures, universally forbidden. Where does that tendency come from? This is the interesting point. So as I've been reading, they hypothesize some enemy of God, the adversary, the devil, Satan. And he is as much as God is supposedly, they suppose him to be good, Satan is evil, and human being is in the middle. And so from the good side are coming all the stereotyped religious activities, avoiding sin and going to the church or temple and praying and all these nice activities. And all the bad things, the adultery, so on and so forth, breaking of regulatory principles, that's coming from Satan. And so this philosophy is called dualism. And this dualism, in other words, this division, this dividing reality into the realm of light and the realm of darkness, is inevitable for the impersonalists. This is the amazing thing. The impersonalists, those who worship Brahman, apparently their philosophy is everything is one. But practically speaking, everything is not one. And therefore they have to divide. They have to speak of the realm of oneness, of pure light, and then this dark material world in which we are fallen. And they have to radically divide the two. And the connection between the two is a very, very difficult problem for them. It's very, very difficult. And where one stands between these two is also very, very difficult to ascertain. Because even one comes to the side of the so-called light, the spirit, and he's engaging in those stereotyped spiritual activities, religious activities, then it is seen that he can be tempted by the devil. And so they can never rid themselves of this dark side. Why is that? Because they don't know where to put it. They cannot coherently explain why it is there in the first place. It's like some spook, some ghost that they cannot get rid of. They try everything, to wrap themselves in holiness. But the spook is still there. So, but in this Srimad Bhagavatam, we learn that everything comes from Krishna. And in the highest, the deepest, the most profound state of Krishna consciousness, there is the so-called sinful activities, which is seen in the conjugal rasa with the Lord. The gopis, they are apparently married, and yet they leave their religious life at home as properly married women. And they escape from that situation to run away in secret to meet Krishna. So this is very, very, very profound. That means that there is something within each one of us as spirit soul, because we're all part and parcel of Krishna. And we all belong with Krishna. We're all meant to engage in loving devotional service to Krishna. So there is something within us that wants to run away from the stereotyped affairs of so-called good life, the proper life, the lawful life. There is something in us, and that something goes right to the soul. Right to the soul. Wants to run away from that for something that is secret, that is hidden, that is ecstatic, that is just wonderful, but which nobody in the moral milieu wants to talk about. You see? So this tendency is manifest in the realm of pure devotional service. But this is a tendency to put it this way, to surrender to Krishna on a more and more and more profound level. Because this is the meaning of that pastime. That the gopis, Lord Krishna's most intimate devotees, they're always finding newer and newer ways to escape to Krishna. And they find one way, and then that way will be blocked. The relatives will find out about that, and they will make some arrangement. But then they will find another way, and another way, and another way. So in this way, that propensity is fully taken up in love of God, love of Krishna. So that is, this pastime is only available in relationship with Krishna, not even with Lord Vasudeva Krishna at Dwarka, not with Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha, nowhere else except in Goloka Vrindavan. So if one does not come and what to speak of, other more vague conceptions of God, as one finds in other religious scriptures, other religious traditions. So unless we come to the standard of Krishna consciousness as presented by Shukadeva Goswami in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and as explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, who has established the right flavor of understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. Unless we come to this, then that propensity there in the soul to run away, to escape from the stereotyped definition of lawfulness and holiness, to escape to something else which is hidden, which is ecstatic, which is, you see, some forbidden yet very most relishable relationship that will remain within us without any transcendental outlet. There's no way to exercise this propensity on the spiritual platform. And that's where the spook comes from. That's where the devil comes from. Because that propensity will linger, will always be there in the heart. And thus spiritual life will always remain a problem. To remain fixed in spiritual life will always, there will be so many difficulties. This is they call it actually this problem of evil, they call it. And they have no explanation for it ultimately. I mean, they can see that there is good and there is evil, but why there is evil, they don't know. And it's a big problem. And this is why the Christian religious tradition has become so weak in recent times, because of not having a satisfactory answer to this problem. But in Krishna consciousness, actually, that problem is clearly explained and clearly solved by those who take up anyabhilashata shunyam jnanakarmadi anavritam, who rid themselves of all other engagements, all other ways of satisfying their inward propensities. Anyukulena krishnanashilanam bhakti uttama, and we accept the process of uttama bhakti, pure devotional service. In other words, as stated here, anukulena krishnanashilanam, they do only that which is favorable for advancing their relationship with Krishna. And the ultimate example of that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, is in the gopis. This is the supreme demonstration of love of Krishna. And so this is complete, the complete engagement of the person, the spiritual person, in love of Godhead. Until one comes to that platform, then that complete person is not engaged fully. And that which is left over becomes a problem. That is subject to being captivated by illusion. Okay, so I'll stop here. Are there any questions? Yes?
I was wondering, what is the relationship of the gopis' husbands to Krishna?
Yeah, they have their relationship in the Sakya Rasa. their friendship rasa to Krishna. And it's a little mysterious that this relationship between the gopis' husbands and the gopis themselves, it is said to be apparent. It is apparent. It is not actually factual. The acharyas explain that this apparent connection of the gopis to the cowherd men as wives to husband is it's a kind of manifestation of obstructions in pure devotional service. Not that they're not pure devotees, but the depth of love of Godhead is unlimited. In other words, as advanced as any devotee may be, he has unlimited advancement before him, because the process is always expanding. And so there are always newer and newer obstacles that must be overcome. And this is all arranged by Krishna, not like in the material world, where the obstacle is the material nature. In the spiritual world there are also obstacles, but they're presented by the spiritual nature. And we have to overcome them. So, this is one such obstacle, that the gopis have their duty to their apparent husbands. But it is only apparent. And so as they overcome that, then they enter into deeper and deeper loving exchanges with Krishna. And in Goloka Vrindavan, this is a good point, that indirect point in your question. Yes, devotees reside there who have other relationships with Krishna besides this Madhura relationship. There is Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, Krishna's parents, and there is Krishna's friends, and there are also those who assume the role of Krishna's servants, and even there are those who are in the Shanta Rasa, like the cows and trees and so on. So one may ask, well, but what about them? But the thing is that the predominant rasa in Goloka Vrindavan is the Madhura rasa, and all these other rasas are serving that rasa, and they also drown in the ocean of Madhura rasa. Others, other devotees in Goloka Vrindavan, of course, they have a different relationship with Krishna. They may not be going to directly dance with Krishna in the rasa dance, but they're serving that. And thus, the nectar of these most intimate pastimes are flooding all of Goloka Vrindavan. Everyone is tasting that nectar. So, in the end, in Goloka Vrindavan, that is the predominant rasa. And everyone is serving. Even Lord Krishna's, or rather, Srimati Radharani's mother-in-law and sister-in-law, Jatila and Kutila, they're always criticizing Krishna. They're always trying to protect Radharani from having any contact with Krishna. They're very, very sharp-tongued. They're these wonderful pastimes, how they're trying to interfere with Krishna's meeting with Radharani in different ways. But even here, their activities are only enhancing the rasa, the intimate relationship. It's only making it sweeter and sweeter. And even in their this way that they become mad, Jatila, Kutila, when they're criticizing Krishna for his meeting the gopis in the forest. You see, they're glorifying those pastimes in a critical way. Like, women who gossip, gossip about love affairs of other women they heard about, and they, in a very scandalized way. So they're actually tasting the same rasa, but in that way. So this is a wonderful feature of Goloka Vrindavan, that everybody is absorbed in this relationship from their different standpoints. And even there are devotees who are completely scandalized by it. But, it's just like it's reflected in the material world. You see these women, housewives, who are speaking in such a scandalized way about the affairs of some other woman that they know, that she's, some neighbor woman, she's married, but we know that she's seeing another man too, and they talk for hours and hours about it in such outraged tones of voice, but actually they're enjoying the whole thing. They're always saying how horrible it is, but you just see they can't stop talking about it. So this is reflected in the material world, but the origin is in the spiritual world. So everyone in Goloka Vrindavan, they're actually absorbed ultimately they're absorbed in this one rasa, this one relationship between Krishna, Radharani, the gopis. That is the life and soul of everyone, that's the subject matter everyone is talking about. That is the nectar everyone is tasting. Anything else? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Suhotra Maharaj ki
Jai.